today we're going to be doing an update video on all of the towing attachments that you can get with our medium duty line, our heavy duty line, and right into the rotator line. One thing that's nice about our attachments, no matter if you're at a 3212, a NV50, a 7035, a 5130, or an 1140, all of our towing attachments fit into the various fork holders that we offer to fit that size of the crossbar, therefore minimizing our ability to stock different attachments to meet all of the needs: medium, heavy duty, extra heavy duty. One of the key things that we came out with very early on in the crossbar system was not having to worry about remove the crossbars, which was very common in the early days with underlifts from the European theater. And the other thing that we worked on real quick was trying to eliminate or minimize the double pick. So the first thing we did is Century Wrecker and Miller Industries was to adapt the low profile fork holder, which is what I'm going to demo for you now. As we go to the driver's side to the passenger side of the crossbar and moving forward and backwards, the actual fork holders are multiple position factors to reduce overhang, to get extended reach, to reduce reach, you know, so they can use driver's side to passenger side, whatever is your need. So let's step back here and let's take a look. This is how we carry it in the standard configuration. Low set, down and away from you. That gives you the widest versatility, and of course always retaining the pin to be in place, because the last thing that we want to worry about is that fork holder sliding off. So very, very important on that. You can take your fork holder, and I can take it and flip it 180 degrees, move it in. I now have gained some 3 inches in overall height from this plateau to this plateau. I also can take this fork holder off and I can move it backwards. Now moving it backwards, I've reduced my overhang by 12 inches from the center line of this fork hole to the center line of the fork hole. And what does that mean? On a heavy vehicle, 16, 18, 20,000 pounds, I've just reduced my pick by maybe 1,000 to 1,500, depending on what that vehicle weighs on the front axle. And I can do the same thing by taking here, removing this pin. I can take this fork holder off, I can move it over to the opposite side, and I can bring this one in like this, and bring this one like this, and I can come real close. And what is this good for? Back of a Kenworth, getting around your rear suspensions or your shocks. So very apt to do several things for you, and as you can see, the low profile in the casting. And one of the things is we step up from these castings and start moving to all of our frame forks. This isn't cast iron, this is cast steel with 100,000 yield. Very different onto that point. You're getting the capacities that we want to see and what we have to tow with. The other thing is we're going to show you the leading edge. And with that cast steel process, back to when we were torching this out of T1, we reduced the overall weight of some 300 pounds for our whole fork package. We also gave it to the plateau where we had a nice flat floor, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And one of the things that I'm going to grab real quick is right here in front of us, which is the new fork that we introduced about 2 years ago. The nice features about this is we called it the grab fork. And what it does is it literally grabs and pinches that axle. And the other thing it does with its width, as the 2 U-bolts are coming down here from the spring package, it keeps the axle from sliding left to right and forward to backwards, which was common. And you can see how we've increased the saddle width at the bottom, as well as the width up here in the tooth. So prior to these attachments, these forks, we had this being our most common, and this is what we call the 3-inch short fork right here. Now look at the leading edge. The leading edge was tapered. And the reason it's tapered and lower than the back edge is we want it to be able to get to that axle, and as it comes out, for the axle to, even if it hits here, to be able to slide up and go into the girth of the fork. And again, the profile. Notice how we've widened the fork and tapering it out. And the reason is we're trying to grab as much surface area as possible with this fork, minimizing its wear over a period of time. We reference this as the 3-inch short fork. We then reference this as the 4.5-inch short fork. And it's very, very important that if we're using a frame fork and whatever we're picking, it sits up high like here on the axles. This is improper. you have to have your load down into the girth of the fork. You cannot carry a load up here. This is totally incorrect. Puts a huge amount of stress right here on these 2 points of the fingers of each one of the forks, no matter which make, model, how tall, who supplies it to you. Get what you're picking down. Therefore, 3" to 4.5 inch. So in the bigger springs or a thicker frame, you've got that. Now, the heights start coming in, because look here, and let's real quickly just take this fork holder off, and I'd maybe, using this frame fork without going to get another fork, I could go to this configuration because I've gained this 3 inches right here. Very important. So that's one of the nice features of the offset fork holder, and being able to use it in a multitude of different ways. Take this back. Now we go to the 3" medium fork and the 4.5" medium. So just like what we were doing in the 3" and the short, is we've gotten height. Why do we get height? Because we're looking for clearance. We want whatever we're towing not to get into the pivot pin area of the crossbar. We're looking for clearance for the radiator support, a torsion bar, what have you. And so also, again, with the low profile, we could flip it over, grab a little bit more height. But here we are with the 3", and again, we don't want to carry a load up here. We want the load to go all the way down into the girth, which you see here with the medium 4.5 inch. Our next step up is going to what we call our tall fork.
We're at 7 minutes right now.
We got your tall fork here. And you can see right here, again, the same thing. Leading edge, 3 inches, and the 4.5 inch. One of the most common errors that are used by towers, and the means in which you can damage a frame fork, is when the tower is backing up and the pivot bar turns, crossbar stops because it gets up against the underreach, and the driver still tries to turn sharper into the corner. This is where the load's going to go, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why rear view cameras, as you can see our camera right here on the down tower of the underreach, swing up here, you can actually see what you're doing as you're backing up. And that's one of the nice features of this double camera system, so that as we're backing up, you can keep that crossbar from becoming fully turned, and therefore putting all the leverage right here in this area. Very, very, very important. Eliminate these. Couple frame forks that we have. Now some specialty forks. We've all heard of the Volvo fork. Volvo fork's been out. Volvo fork is really a point of being something with the Aerotech Hendrickson's front suspension. There are 2 or 3 different versions of this. This is the most common. It was the second version. Here again, you see if you have that square box. Some of the Mack suspensions are square. That allows you to get up onto that rear Mack, miss that pumpkin, and be able to have it in here where it's not sliding back and forth. A couple more specialty forks. This is European fork, and Tom uses this quite a bit, talking about buses, because this can actually come up. These 2 ears on one of the model buses that we demo for the New England market actually fit right in there and allow it to be able to be picked up at the very front. This also is his radius. Notice how this one is radius. This frame fork was right here designed for picking front axles, rear axles, and front axles mainly with the ability for mixer packer pumper trucks, which were all-wheel drive. You know, and you've got that round axle in the all-wheel drive, and therefore you don't have a sharp edge, and the axle lays down here into the radius. So in closing, that's just the various 9 standard frame forks that Miller offers, and some of the optional ones that we also offer that you can use every day. Front of the vehicle, rear of the vehicle, no matter what. Always remember, load always to the bottom. Don't load one side of the fork. Always use wheel chocks, always safety chain, and always tie your load down into the frame forks.
And now you know.